Welcome to the Week in Italian Startup, where we discuss the latest highlights happening in the Italian tech and investment ecosystem. Let's start strong with the Italian government pushing on AI, promising 1 billion in investment dedicated to AI from CDP. So we've been monitoring CDP for a while now, for a few years. They've been launching a lot from funds to accelerator, and they keep moving extremely fast and extremely relevant, I would say. So with this new commitment from Giorgia Meloni, basically saying that they will allocate way more money. So we mentioned before that it was about 100 million, and then it's 10 times the amount. Information are still not too clear, but definitely the impulse is there. So to make Italy like a very interesting ecosystem for AI and AI founders. What is your feeling on that?
Yeah, I agree on what you just said. I mean, it's a bit foggy the way resources are being, designed and allocated to this AI strategy. So the AI dedicated fund has been around for quite a while. One was announced, managed by the Agency for Cybersecurity, but with funds allocated within CDP. And then there's this announcement, this new announcement by the government, whereas probably it includes that fund plus the resources already available to CDP that will be possibly reallocated towards AI. I mean, it's a bit foggy, even though I appreciate the government is trying to push for investments in AI. Even though I would probably aspire to a more strategic approach. I mean, AI is very broad term. What are you going to allocate funds for? Applications, infrastructure, foundational models. Are we going to acquire a few thousand NVIDIA GPUs for government use? So what's the strategy there? So that's
Good point.
the piece I'm still missing because it's a complex matter in a sense. So we see. So good for the availability and the desire to allocate capital on the vertical. I want to see what's the strategy there. Who's leading the strategy? I mean, if it's again bit and pieces going around in an uncoordinated way, are we really going to be or to go far? I don't know.
Yeah, and I believe there's gonna be soon, or maybe there is already, like an allocation problem, which is like which technicians are they gonna involve to actually make informed decisions about AI investments, which is not obvious. And AI investing, it's been there for around for a while, but in Italy is a pretty new thing. So basically, I'm curious to see who's gonna be actually on top of this from like a product perspective and the machine perspective, I would say. So very curious about that. All right, so moving on, going back to the fundraise. So Liguria region is ruling the week essentially with two startups based in Liguria raising capital. So that's an interesting pattern. We don't see that much. Usually is Milan, Turin, and that's Rome occasionally, and that's all. But yeah, so very interesting. Starting from Wesii, company deploying drones to monitor critical infrastructure, raising 2.8 million from Terna Forward and DXT Commodities. So essentially, Wesii is using drone technology for essentially two things, which is aerial thermography and high resolution visual inspection. So essentially, they're trying to mix like anything drone technology with high resolution camera and different kind of sensor for infrastructure management and from precision infrastructure management. So solving the problem that it takes a lot of time and effort to actually go around like solar panel plants, for example, to make sure that everything is in place. Drone technology can actually help that out. So that's an interesting technology, it's a nice application. I mean, we've seen drone technology being applied in agriculture, monitoring from above in general. So that's pretty interesting. This is a very specific but high potential. And what tells you that probably is that both Terna and DXT are behind this investment. So basically, let's maybe talk about Terna and DXT really quick. So Terna Forward is essentially the corporate venture arm of Terna Energy. They've been very active, even though the company, the sort of the brand, the arm is pretty new, founded in 2022. They've been starting investing through being limited partners of the energy tech and infratech subsection of the CDP Fondo Corporate Partner 1, which is very interesting. And through them, essentially, they've invested in 7 companies which are relevant to the business. And now they're going direct. So, very forward looking strategy from a CVC perspective, starting as LPs, getting access to the ecosystem, moving the first steps, and then going direct. So, that's pretty interesting. So definitely kudos to Turner for like making this happen in this like very methodical way. So that is interesting. Talking about DXT Commodities, this is a sub company of Duferco Energy, which is a Italo-Swiss multinational company working in energy, commodities, steel, and a bunch of things. I think their last income statement signals 43 billion in revenue, so not not a small company. And they have an interesting story. So DXT essentially started as an energy trading desk inside Duferco, and then it kind of performed so well that they started also like doing like looking into technology. Then I think DXT became shareholder of one of the biggest energy distributor in Brazil that have a bunch of solar energy panel fields. And to conclude, they invested in drone technology for solar panels. So it's interesting how this like connection is made. So two great example of corporation. So I'm a big fan of CVC, as Nick, and these two examples are awesome because they're extremely well executed, very much in point with their business. So pretty exciting, yeah.
Yeah, well, I can see that you studied the case very carefully and then you knew it. Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see infrastructure companies such as Terna that's very very deep within the being the operator of the energy grid basically, going all the way to finding startups to invest in, and this is a very strategic investment. It's exactly a product that they need to monitor, in particular, renewable sources. So, I mean, it makes full sense
Yeah.
as an investment. Absolutely.
Surprising that no classical financial. I mean, with a lot of people working in deep tech, in AI, in drone technology, even space. Why not other like more financially oriented firms kind of join the round? So I'm always conflicted because the question is always: are corporation like a red flag for the round or not? So it makes perfect sense for Terna and from DXT for sure, and because of it's basically adjacent technology, so it makes extremely good sense. But does it qualify them better to be investable from like a VC perspective? I don't know what's your take. We never talked about that, so I'm curious to see how you think about corporations being co-investors.
Oh yeah, that's we probably need a full episode just to have a conversation about this. It's complicated. I mean, it's complicated in particular when you see cases such as this one, because this is clearly a strategic investment, so it's not a pure financial play. So Terna is the natural customer of Wheezy, and being the natural customer in such a big organization is also the ideal candidate to integrate. downstream, purchase the capability and then distribute the capability and operating it because you I mean, you think you know how to do it, and that has a lot of implications about the effects for pure financial investor, um, and not always they're perceived as good. So there are positive sides, meaning you have your customer next to you. In this case, potentially you can support your growth uh, quite quite a lot because the infrastructure management tab is big. But on the other hand, in terms of liquidity, it might not be the ideal position to be in for the financial investor. It really depends.
I see.
So, I mean, yeah, I don't have a clear cut answer. Every single case is probably a case that should be looked or analyzed with attention. We tend to be at the seed stage, in particular early stage, having a corporate investor. It's a bit unusual, let's say so. So,
Interesting, very interesting. I agree. So many different ways to tackle this problem. So that's a very very interesting question.
hmm.
All right, moving forward, Synopsis, Precision Livestock Farming startup raising 2.1 million in a seed round, participated by Farming Future, dsm-firmerich Venturing, Levante Capital, SVG Ventures, and Plus Nine. In addition to a bunch of very very interesting other investor, which are very very interesting also to mention. So yeah, basically, Synopsis is working in livestock management and data analytics. So it's probably one of the top firms in Italy providing this kind of service. So essentially monitoring like what they call it, animal welfare in general. Very very popular as they've been growing, and they've been also probably given the kind of investors that they involved, probably like thinking of expanding pretty quick. So I was researching a bit on Levante Capital in particular, and they have an interesting thesis, which is essentially trying to bring early stage company to Asia. So there is like a big bridge to Asia. So that's definitely like not only a financial investor, but possibly a strategic one. And I thought it was particularly relevant. One other element that we need to mention is US based investors. We always, think how exactly foreign investors are looking into Italy. And there you go. We have a great example, which is SVG Ventures. I think now they're branding it to Thrive. They're focusing on agri-tech in particular, one of the big player in the early stage agri-tech and food tech sectors, and it's US based with 213 investment active. So that's extremely interesting, and yeah, another good example of a US player putting like a foot into the Italian ecosystem. What is your take on this?
Yeah, well, of course, this is good news, seeing that international players are coming to Italy and investing in startups is always good news. Um, and find it interesting that this is a specific vertical. So agri-food, it seems it is a vertical where we are, you know, quite strong in Italy in some way. Um, so happy to see this market growing and having interest from international players. Cynomys, they've been around for a while, so I think this round is well deserved. Very the founders have shown a great resilience in pushing their idea forward. So very nice to see that their efforts were um, brought them to finally raising capital to push for growth. So very good.
Awesome. Great. I would also mention Plus Nine, which is a very interesting investment firm. So Plus Nine basically has a lot of Italian and US company in the portfolio, including, for example, High Nelson and We Road. And and yeah, they've been like extremely active, and it's basically a collaboration between a few founders, investor, and professors from Bocconi University. So a very interesting player with a nice and quiet portfolio, if you will. I mean, we don't see that much, but they've been building something very, very interesting.
Yeah, I was taking a look
Okay,
at the website. I didn't know much about them, but the homepage is telling about the companies they invested in and what they did. Nice.
nice. Let's talk about Italian founder that are like abroad raising a lot of money. So another great example happening is with Nozomi Network, basically operational technology and IoT security company raising 100 million from Mitsubishi Electric and Schneider Electric. So very, very interesting fundraise. Definitely one. It's definitely like a huge deal for an Italian founder abroad. Um, Basically, what is interesting also, I would say, is that Nozomi has been very growing pretty fast. I think as of 2023, they have a revenue of 22 million, but they're backed by a lot of great investors. Just to provide some example, Incutel, for example, is one of their early investors. Very, very interesting. Lux Capital, Samsung, and Porsche Venture with Telefonica as well. So very strategic, very very interesting like deal here. Definitely on the growth, and we'll see what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, I was thinking about we met recently in QTEL, and again, Nozomi is about security in the IoT space. So why am I not surprised about such an investment?
Exactly.
Nice.
All right, so just to finish up, let's talk about Zest. So Zest is essentially the new name of the fusion of the merger between L Venture and Digital Magics. Uh, on April 1st, they will start trading on the Euronext Milan. So that's a good example of a VC firm that is basically publicly listed. The shareholding basically will include the Startib, the investment vehicle from Tambur Investimenti, Luis University, and Luigi Capello, which is one of the basically the founders. Uh, and I would say that the rest is pretty much on the public market. Very interesting now, very interesting configuration. I think their NAV is about 50 million with about 230 startups in portfolio, seven operational accelerator, basically touching a lot of trends, including AI, clean tech, fintech, IoT, prop tech, travel tech, and digital. They also have around like 13 investment vehicles in aggregate. So what is interesting is that they're trying to put together like a lot, I would say, and it's definitely going to be challenging. Their EBITDA has been negative for the past 2 years. I think with 2024 post merger, the idea is to really close 2024 with a positive EBITDA of about like 1.7, 1.8 billion. So very, very ambitious plan. Um, but one of the evolution of some of the historic players in the VC space in Italy. So that's a new chapter.
Yeah, congratulations to both the teams for pulling this through. Yeah, I think it was a very complex merger with a lot of moving parts to bring together. But happy to see that finally the new, probably biggest private player in Italy in the acceleration space and pre-seed investment space, uh, being born. So happy to see what's coming out of it in the coming years. Very nice.
All right. So, Nick, thank you so much. And this concludes this week's episode. So, thank you for joining and thank you for the listener. And I'll see you all next week.
Thank you, Jack. Take care. Have a great week. Ciao, everybody.